let you know that the mystery of the creepy photo with the hand has been solved. And if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. I can also insert the photo here as well, so you know what I'm talking about. So it turns out that it was just an issue of angles. So instead of there being two rows, instead of there being 2 seats in each row, there's actually 3 seats in each row. And I was sitting all the way against the end. The person who looks like they're sitting right in front of me is actually sitting in the middle seat. So the angle it was taking at and the way that person is leaning back and I'm leaning forward makes it look like we're in the same row, but we're actually not. And the person who was actually right in front of me kind of hid. I guess they didn't want their picture taken at that time, but they didn't hide well enough. The hand was still there on the shoulder. So I know who it is, but I'm not going to say names. I'm going to respect privacy and leave names out of it. So I'm kind of sad that it's not like a true paranormal picture, even though it's still a really creepy photo. It's just that. It's just a creepy photo because of angles. And I wanted to bring that to you guys because I'm always going to do my best to be truthful with you. And if I can debunk something, I'm not going to hide it from you. I'm going to bring it to you. You know, you're going to believe or not believe. That's up to you. I'm never going to try to force you to believe anything that you don't want to believe or anything that you don't believe. I can only bring to you my experiences, and creepy photo, still a creepy photo, just not a paranormal creepy photo. So that mystery is solved. Yay. The other story that I had talked about from Japan that was kind of creepy but also not paranormal, I thought I'd just go ahead and tell that story today. I have a plan to do a follow me around, but I won't get to filming that until tomorrow. And I'm hoping we're going to be allowed to film, so fingers crossed. But if we aren't allowed to film, I'll update you during the next video. But I'm hoping that we can do a follow me around video for next week's video. So the other story, getting back to Japan, that was kind of creepy. So we lived on the ground floor apartment. I can't even remember how many floors there were in our apartment building. And it wasn't called an apartment building, it was called a mansion. That's what apartment buildings are called in Osaka. And we lived in Juso in particular. And we had the ground floor apartment. We had never had any issues with loud neighbors or animals or any kind of thing like that. Like I had said hello to my neighbor once or twice when I was hanging laundry up out on our balcony, because there's no dryers. People don't have dryers in their houses. They just have a washing machine and they hang all their clothes up outside to dry. So I had seen her in passing a couple of times hanging up laundry and be like, hi. So one night we had already gone to bed. We were already both asleep, and we were awakened by a noise upstairs, and it sounded like a small dog running across hardwood or some kind of hard floor, not carpeted. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but their nails kind of do this like click slide thing. It's like and it would go right above our heads. Like our bedroom was on the end, and I'm assuming the apartments were laid out the same way. I'm not sure. But it would go back and forth, and then all of a sudden you would hear whatever it was, this dog, like tumble and roll. and it was so loud. And we're like, well, I guess somebody upstairs either moved in or got a new dog or something. Like, what is going on? And it started happening every night. And we're talking like from like midnight later on, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, it would always wake you up, and it was so loud. Wake you up, wake us up. And so very annoying. It got to the point where Michael would go grab our broom and he'd like beat on our ceiling, and for a few minutes like everything would just stop, and we're like, okay, the owner picked up the dog, we can go back to sleep. And then just as soon as we would get comfortable and like start nodding off, all over again, just like running back and forth, tumbling, rolling. I'm just like, what is going on? So we talked to, I don't really know his title. He was kind of like a go-between. He set up the apartment for us, but he didn't own the building. And if we had questions or if we had like any maintenance issues, we would go through him to get it fixed. So we told him, we're like, there's somebody upstairs and their dog is just going crazy every night, and it's really loud and it's waking us up and it's just driving us nuts. And he's like, okay, well, I'll talk to the superintendent and I'll find out what's going on. So he talked to the superintendent and he got back to us, and before he got back to us, I had noticed something weird. Like, all of the mailboxes in the hallway would have like apartment numbers on them. And I noticed there was like nothing, like no name, nothing associated with that apartment upstairs. So I'm like, well, maybe they just didn't write their name on the mailbox, whatever. But then he got back to us and he said, well, there's nobody in that apartment. What? There has to be somebody. We can hear their dog every night running back and forth and back and forth. And he's like, well, okay, let me look into it some more. So the creepy thing is, there's nobody registered in that apartment. There's nobody living in that apartment. And still, every single night, we're hearing something run around that apartment. So it was just weird and creepy and driving us insane because we weren't getting enough sleep. And so he finally figured out what was happening. And to give you a little bit of background, the Great Haunted Earthquake of 1995 comes into play here a little bit. So right before that big earthquake, which I believe was a 7.2 on the Richter scale, just devastating earthquake, just horrible destruction, so many people killed. It was really, really bad. But right before that, ferrets had become a popular pet. And when the earthquake happened, a lot of them escaped. And they started living in the wild in Japan. And even walking through, you can sometimes look up and there will be ferrets like walking along the power lines. They didn't catch all of them. They're still running around today. So what happened was one of them had somehow gotten into the apartment upstairs. And even though nobody was living there, like, it was every night, it was just running around, making all kinds of noise. So what we thought was really creepy because nobody lived there and we could still hear noises turned out to be a wild ferret. So they took care of it. They caught it. I don't know what they did with it after that. I'm sure they exported it to the wild somewhere and let it go. Fingers crossed. I hope they did that. So that was our creepy, not paranormal, turns out to be not creepy story of the wild ferret. So I hope you enjoyed this story. It was really frustrating at the time, but looking back on it now, I can laugh and be like, haha, the ferret. Sometimes we just joke about it. So it's good to look back on things and be able to laugh about them, even though they were irritating at the time. I don't really think Japan, other than that, for me, had any creepy things happen it was like I had a 4-year break from the paranormal. And granted, I didn't go looking for any of that, but I also don't go looking for what's in my apartment or what was in my house growing up. Those things just kind of happen to me. So there are lots of other stories about Japan, but none of them are paranormal or creepy. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you enjoyed the mystery of the creepy photo. And I am glad that there's an answer, but still kind of sad that it's not a real paranormal picture. I don't think I said that correctly. Anyway, all of my social media will be at the end of this video, so stick around for that. And if you'd like to write me an email and have me share your story, anonymous or not, please write me an email. That's in the description box below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and smash that subscribe button, smash that little bell button so you get notifications. I think that's all the business end of this. Yeah. So I'm just going to say bye.